been trying to catch what he said. Shedeur said something to Mike Tomlin, but I'm trying to see what he said.
Young man, stay up. You know it.
He said something to him at the end right there, man. Mike Tomlin was like, yeah, you know it.
Young man, stay up. You know it.
Now, it's word on the street that Mike Tomlin might lose his damn job for losing to Shedeur.
The NFL world is absolutely buzzing right now. And if you haven't seen what just went down between Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders, you need to pay attention because this moment is sending shockwaves through the entire league. We're talking about a cryptic post-game exchange that has fans, analysts, and insiders all asking the same question. What exactly did Mike Tomlin say to the rookie quarterback who just handed his Pittsburgh Steelers an embarrassing loss? And even more importantly, could this loss actually cost Tomlin his job? Buckle up, because what we're about to break down is bigger than just one game. This is about pride, legacy, missed opportunities, and a conversation that might have just changed everything. Let me set the stage for you. The Pittsburgh Steelers just got upset by the Cleveland Browns in a game that nobody saw coming. And at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who's been under the microscope since before he even stepped foot on an NFL field. But here's where it gets really interesting. As the final whistle blew and players from both teams started shaking hands, cameras caught Mike Tomlin approaching Shedeur Sanders. The legendary Steelers head coach, the man who has never had a losing season in his entire career, walked right up to the rookie who just beat him and said something that immediately went viral. The footage shows Tomlin leaning in close, his expression unreadable, and you can barely...
Shedeur last in the spring, sort of how have you seen him develop in the last couple of...
It does not matter. He's not a Pittsburgh Steeler. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. I'll let the Cleveland Browns talk about his evaluation. You know, I've obviously known his father for a long time. My first time meeting him, to be quite honest with you, we didn't talk a whole lot about my relationship with his father. It was a normal pre-draft visit, spend time with a young man to talk ball, to get to know him as an individual, to get to see how he processes and sees the game and how he articulates his football experience. From that standpoint, it was a very normal visit and very productive. I think the things that stood out were evident in his video, but the intangible qualities displayed on tape were impressive to me. You know, I haven't explored it. It's something, obviously, that he's going to have to deal with in terms of moving on beyond being coached by his father. But, you know, professional football is just that, professional football. I don't imagine it'll be a challenge for him. There are a lot more significant, you know, tangible challenges.
Make out the words over the stadium noise. But what people are hearing is this: young man, stay up, you know it. Now, on the surface, that sounds like typical coach talk, right? A veteran showing respect to a young player who just balled out. But here's the thing that has everyone talking. The Steelers were reportedly very interested in drafting Shedeur Sanders before the draft. They had him on their radar, they did their homework, and for whatever reason, they passed on him. Now, just months later, that same quarterback just beat them on their own field, and Mike Tomlin has to stand there and watch a potential franchise quarterback walk off as the winner. The irony is almost too perfect, the timing is impeccable, and the internet is absolutely losing its mind over this moment. Social media has erupted with theories, hot takes, and conspiracy theories about what Tomlin really meant. Some fans think it was a genuine moment of respect. Others believe Tomlin was sending a message to his own front office, basically saying, "I told you so," without actually saying it. And then there's the group of people who think this is Tomlin's way of recruiting, planting seeds for a potential future move. Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain. This conversation has become one of the most talked about moments of the entire NFL season. But let's rewind and talk about how we even got to this point. The Cleveland Browns came into this game with absolutely nothing to lose and everything to prove. Their season has been a disaster. They're dealing with organizational chaos behind the scenes. Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, is reportedly walking around the facility with an attitude because he knows his days might be numbered. Jimmy Haslam, the team owner, is allegedly conducting interviews for key positions as we speak. The entire franchise is in turmoil, and everyone expected them to just roll over against a Steelers team that still had playoff hopes on the line. Instead, Shedeur Sanders and the Browns came out with fire. They played inspired football. They executed when it mattered most, and they handed the Steelers a loss that might have just ended Pittsburgh's playoff dreams. The final score tells the story of an upset that nobody saw coming, but more importantly, it tells the story of a rookie quarterback who refused to be intimidated by the moment, by the opponent, or by the legendary coach standing on the opposite sideline. Now let's talk about Shedeur's performance in this game because it wasn't perfect, but it was clutch when it needed to be. He showed flashes of brilliance, made some throws that had scouts and analysts nodding in approval, and yes, he also threw an interception that has become its...
Now, we all know Shedeur Sanders played with Travis Hunter for 3 damn seasons, bro. One thing about Travis Hunter, you throw that damn ball up, Travis is going to go get it. Well, unfortunately, Jerry Jeudy's ain't got the Travis Hunter gene in him. So Shedeur Sanders is kind of conflicted right now with throwing that ball up in the air and hoping, you know, he had a brain fart because he thought he was playing in Colorado and he had Travis, bro. I think that's what happened.
Own story within the story, but we'll get to that in a minute. What matters is that when the game was on the line, when the pressure was at its highest, Shedeur Sanders delivered. He led his team down the field. He made the plays. He got the win, and in doing so, he earned the respect of one of the most respected coaches in NFL history. The Aaron Rodgers moment adds another layer to this entire saga. After the game, as Shedeur was walking off the field, Aaron Rodgers approached him. The future Hall of Famer, the quarterback who has seen and done it all, looked at the rookie and reportedly said, "You can play." 3 simple words that carry an enormous amount of weight coming from someone like Aaron Rodgers. Think about that for a second. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, a player known for being brutally honest and not handing out compliments easily, just validated a rookie in front of the entire football world. Rodgers didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go out of his way to acknowledge Shedeur, but he did, and that tells you something about what he saw on that field. It tells you that the talent is real, that the potential is there, and that despite all the noise and all the criticism that comes with being Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders can actually play quarterback at the highest level. And when you combine that validation from Rodgers with the cryptic words from Tomlin, you start to see a picture forming. The league is taking notice. Veterans are taking notice. Coaches are taking notice. But let's address the elephant in the room, the moment that has Shedeur's critics circling like sharks smelling blood in the water. That interception. You know the one. 4th and 8, game on the line, and Shedeur throws up a jump ball that gets picked off. The immediate reaction from fans and analysts was brutal. What was he thinking? That's a terrible decision. He's not ready for this level. The takes came flying in fast and furious, and for a moment, it looked like this one play might overshadow everything else he did in the game. Here's the reality of that situation, and this is something that people who actually understand football will recognize immediately. Shedeur Sanders spent 3 years playing with Travis Hunter at Colorado. 3 years of having one of the most talented receivers in college football history as his safety blanket. 3 years of knowing that when things broke down, when the pocket collapsed, when he needed a miracle, he could throw the ball up and Travis Hunter would go get it. That's not just chemistry, that's muscle memory. That's instinct. That's 3 years of your football life being programmed to trust that your receiver will win every 50-50 ball. Now suddenly, Shedeur is in the NFL playing with Jerry Jeudy, who is a talented receiver but isn't Travis Hunter. Nobody is Travis Hunter. So when that moment happened,
Mike Tomlin comments that he said to Shedeur Sanders is going viral immediately after that Steelers game. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Cleveland. Let's get it. Let's go.
Like my man Junior.
For real? Somebody call me Junior, too.
When I pulled up, I thought you was Junior. I got put in my place.
Stop right here for me.
when the play broke down and Shedeur's instincts kicked in, he reverted to what had worked for him hundreds of times before. He threw up a prayer ball expecting his receiver to make a play. It didn't work out. The ball got picked. But you know what? That's not a character flaw. That's not a lack of talent. That's a rookie quarterback learning the hard way that the NFL is different, that not every receiver has Travis Hunter's ability to dominate in contested catch situations. The smart analysts, the ones who actually study film and understand quarterback development, saw that play for what it was, a learning moment, a growing pain, the kind of mistake that young quarterbacks make when they're transitioning from college to the pros. And here's the thing that Shedeur's critics don't want to acknowledge. Despite that mistake, despite that interception, he still found a way to help his team win the game. That's what separates good quarterbacks from great ones. The ability to bounce back from adversity, to not let one bad play define your entire performance, to keep fighting until the final whistle. There's actually a perfect analogy for this, and it comes from street football culture. In certain neighborhoods, there's a game called Killer Man. The rules are simple. You throw the ball up in the air, someone jumps up to catch it, and then they get absolutely destroyed by everyone else. It's survival of the fittest. It's testing who has the heart to take the hit and hold onto the ball. Travis Hunter would dominate Killer Man because that's exactly his game. He goes up, he gets the ball, he takes the punishment, and he holds on. That's what made him special. That's what made that Colorado connection so deadly. Shedeur had a killer man moment in an NFL game. He threw the ball up expecting his receiver to attack it like Travis Hunter would. It didn't work out this time, but that aggressive mentality, that willingness to take chances, that trust in your receivers, those are actually positive qualities in a quarterback when channeled correctly. The key is learning when to use that weapon and when to make the safer play. That comes with experience. That comes with reps, that comes with time. And Shedeur Sanders is going to get all of those things because the talent is undeniable. Now let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this story goes way beyond one game and one conversation. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in crisis mode right now. They've been searching for a franchise quarterback for years. They've tried veterans, they've tried projects, they've tried stopgap solutions, and nothing has worked. Their window with their current roster is closing fast. Their defense is getting older. Their offensive line has questions, and their quarterback situation remains the biggest uncertainty hanging over the entire franchise. Here's where it gets really painful for Steelers fans. Multiple reports from the pre-draft process indicated that Pittsburgh had genuine interest in Shedeur Sanders. They brought him in for meetings. They evaluated him extensively. They did all the homework that teams do when they're considering a quarterback in the draft. And then, for whatever reason, they decided to pass. Maybe they thought he'd be gone before their pick. Maybe they weren't convinced he was worth the investment. Maybe they had other priorities. Whatever the reasoning was, they passed on him, and now they're watching him succeed with a division rival. The what-if game is brutal in the NFL, and Steelers fans are playing it hard right now. What if they had drafted Shedeur? What if he was throwing to George Pickens instead of Jerry Jeudy? What if he was operating behind Pittsburgh's offensive line with their weapons? What if Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in football, was developing him instead of Kevin Stefanski? The possibilities are tantalizing, and they're also torturous because they represent a missed opportunity that could haunt this franchise for years. And that brings us back to that cryptic conversation. When Mike Tomlin looked at Shedeur Sanders and said, "Stay up, you know it," was he just being a respectful coach? Or was there something deeper there? Was he acknowledging to the young quarterback that he saw the talent that he wanted?
In the pre-draft process, they were saying that the Steelers was interested in possibly getting Shedeur. Now that this game is over in the books, Shedeur got one win. He's undefeated playing Mike Tomlin now. Do y'all think Mike Tomlin should lose his job for quite essentially losing to Shedeur? Because Shedeur gave him a little smirker at the end. You know, let me see. Look at him. So do y'all think it's something there? I don't know.
Him that the front office made the wrong call. Was he sending a message to ownership? Was he planting seeds for a potential future connection? We may never know the full truth, but the speculation alone is enough to drive this story into the stratosphere. The timing of this loss couldn't be worse for the Steelers. They're now in a precarious playoff position, needing help from other teams and having to win their final game just to have a chance. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns, who were supposed to be dead in the water, just played spoiler in the most dramatic way possible. And the beneficiary of all this chaos, the Baltimore Ravens, who now have renewed playoff hopes because their division rivals imploded at the worst possible time. The Ravens' social media team wasted no time celebrating this development. They posted messages thanking the Browns for the gift, basking in the irony of their biggest rival helping them out. But Cleveland wasn't having any of it. The Browns' social media account fired back with a perfect response. "Don't think we did this for you." That's the kind of petty drama that makes the NFL so entertaining. These teams hate each other, and even when one helps the other accidentally, nobody wants to admit it or show gratitude. Speaking of social media, we have to talk about the Steelers fan who became an unexpected casualty of this game. Before kickoff, one confident Pittsburgh supporter made a bold declaration on Twitter: "If the Browns beat the Steelers today, I will officially deactivate my account." It was the kind of cocky statement that fans make all the time, never actually expecting to have to follow through. Well, the Browns won, and the internet has no mercy. Bleacher Report and countless other accounts made sure this fan kept his promise. The account is now deleted, deactivated, gone from the digital universe. It's a small moment in the grand scheme of things, but it perfectly captures the joy of being a Browns fan in a season where joy has been incredibly hard to find. Let's shift gears and talk about what's happening behind the scenes in Cleveland, because the organizational chaos there is unprecedented. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who won Coach of the Year just a couple of seasons ago, is reportedly ready to walk out the door. Sources say he's been walking around the facility with an attitude, basically telling anyone who will listen that he's ready to go as soon as they're ready to fire him. That's not the body language of a coach who thinks he has job security. That's someone who sees the writing on the wall and has already mentally checked out. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner who has become infamous for his impatience and frequent coaching changes, is allegedly conducting interviews right now for various positions within the organization. We're talking about a complete overhaul potentially happening in the next 7 days. General Manager Andrew Barry's future is uncertain. Stefanski is on his way out. The entire structure of the franchise is about to be torn down and rebuilt yet again. This is the Cleveland Browns experience in a nutshell. Brief moments of hope followed by complete organizational destruction. But here's the fascinating part of all this chaos. In the middle of a lost season, with their coach mentally checked out and their front office in turmoil, the Browns just beat a playoff contending team with a rookie quarterback making plays. That has to give them something to build on, right? That has to provide at least a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they've finally found their quarterback of the future. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for any of this drama. He didn't create the organizational dysfunction.
Contested catch receiver on his roster right now. But you know what? Despite that interception, despite playing with the worst offensive line and receiving core in the NFL, despite all the sabotage and dysfunction, Shedeur still found a way to win. He still found a way to eliminate a playoff team. He still found a way to prove every single doubter wrong. And that's why Mike Tomlin's comments are going viral. Because Mike Tomlin sees what a lot of people refuse to acknowledge. Shedeur Sanders is special. He's different. He's a winner who finds ways to
played football and got a win. The question now becomes, what does Cleveland do with him? Do they commit to building around Shedeur? Do they bring in a new coach who can maximize his talents? Do they invest in weapons and protection to help him develop? Or do they do what the Browns have done for decades and screw it all up with another ill-advised reset that wastes everyone's time and destroys another young player's potential? History suggests skepticism is warranted, but hope springs eternal in the NFL. Meanwhile, back in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin faces the most uncertain moment of his legendary tenure. He has never had a losing season. Never. That's an incredible streak that speaks to his consistency, his ability to motivate players, and his coaching excellence. But streaks don't last forever, and even legends face scrutiny when the results don't match expectations. The Steelers have been stuck in mediocrity for several years now, good enough to compete but never good enough to seriously contend. They're in that dreaded middle ground where you're not bad enough to get a top draft pick, but not good enough to win a championship. The quarterback situation has been Tomlin's biggest challenge, and it's not entirely his fault. The front office hasn't given him the tools he needs at the most important position in sports. They've been conservative in their approach, unwilling to take big swings, content to try and manufacture wins with defense and running the ball. But in today's NFL, that formula doesn't work anymore. You need a dynamic quarterback who can make plays when the structure breaks down, and Pittsburgh hasn't had that since Ben Roethlisberger retired. So when Mike Tomlin watched Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback his team evaluated and passed on, light up the scoreboard and lead a game-winning drive, what went through his mind? Was it frustration, admiration, regret? Probably all three. Tomlin has built his reputation on identifying talent and maximizing it. He's known around the league as a coach who players respect and want to play for. The idea that he might have wanted Shedeur but didn't get him is entirely plausible, and if that's true, this loss has to sting on a completely different level. The hot seat conversation around Tomlin is complicated because of his track record. You don't fire a coach who has never had a losing season lightly. You don't discard that kind of consistency without being absolutely certain you can do better. But NFL owners are notoriously impatient, and when expectations aren't met, even legends can find themselves looking for new jobs. The Steelers have championship standards. Anything less than competing for Super Bowls is considered failure in Pittsburgh. Tomlin hasn't gotten them there recently, and the clock is ticking. Then there's the Shedeur Sanders phenomenon itself, which has become one of the most polarizing topics in football. Being Deion Sanders' son comes with massive advantages and equally massive disadvantages. The advantages are obvious: access to elite training, knowledge of the game from one of the greatest athletes ever, media attention, and opportunities that most players never get. The disadvantages are less obvious but just as real: constant scrutiny, unfair expectations, accusations of nepotism, and the pressure to live up to an impossible standard. Every throw Shedeur makes is analyzed through the lens of his last name. Every mistake is magnified. Every success is questioned. Is he actually good, or is it just the hype? Would he even be in the NFL without his father's name? Is he getting special treatment? These are the questions that follow him everywhere, and they're exhausting. But here's what the haters don't want to acknowledge: you can't fake it at the NFL level. You can't succeed as a quarterback in the National Football League just because your dad is famous. The talent has to be real. The work has to be put in. The mental toughness has to be there. Shedeur is proving game by game that he belongs. Yes, he makes mistakes. Yes, he has growing pains. Yes, he's still learning and developing. But show me a rookie quarterback who doesn't fit that description. The fact is, when you compare his performance to other rookies in his class, he's holding his own. He's making plays, he's showing the arm talent, he's demonstrating the leadership qualities that you can't teach, and most importantly, he's winning games that he's supposed to lose. The comparisons to other rookie quarterbacks this season are inevitable, and Shedeur holds up well in those comparisons. He's not being carried by an elite defense or a dominant running game. He's being asked to make plays, to carry the offense, to win games with his arm and his decision-making. That's a lot to ask of a rookie, especially one playing for a dysfunctional organization with limited weapons and a coaching staff that's already mentally preparing for unemployment. The fact that he's succeeding in that environment speaks volumes about his character and his talent. Looking ahead to what's next, the final week of the season is going to be absolutely massive for everyone involved in this story. The Steelers have to win and get help just to make the playoffs, which means their season could end in disappointment despite having legitimate talent on the roster. The Browns will finish out a lost season knowing that massive changes are coming, but at least they have a glimmer of hope at the quarterback position. The Ravens will be scoreboard watching and rooting for chaos, hoping that the gift their rivals accidentally gave them doesn't go to waste. But beyond this season, the real intrigue is what happens in the off-season. Will Mike Tomlin return to Pittsburgh, or will ownership decide it's time for a change? Will Cleveland finally commit to building around a young quarterback, or will they blow it all up again and start from scratch? Will Shedeur Sanders continue to develop and prove the doubters wrong, or will the league figure him out and expose his limitations? These are the storylines that will dominate the next several months. One thing is absolutely certain. That moment between Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders will be remembered. It will be referenced. It will be analyzed and reanalyzed. Because in that brief exchange, in those few words captured on camera, there was something real. Whether it was respect, regret, admiration, or something else entirely, it resonated. It went viral because people recognized the significance of it. A legendary coach and a rookie quarterback who could have been his, sharing a moment after a game that neither of them will forget. The beauty of the NFL is that these moments happen all the time. Coaches and players cross paths, relationships are formed and broken, decisions made and regretted, but rarely do we get to witness it so clearly, so publicly, with so much context and meaning attached to it. This wasn't just a coach congratulating an opponent. This was a moment loaded with subtext, with possibility, with the weight of what could have been and what might still be. As we head into the final week of the regular season, as teams fight for playoff positioning and others play out the string, remember this moment. Remember Mike Tomlin's cryptic words to Shedeur Sanders. Remember the rookie quarterback who beat a legendary coach. Remember the pre-draft connection that makes this whole story so deliciously ironic. And remember that in the NFL, nothing is ever simple. Nothing is ever just what it appears to be on the surface. The next 7 days are going to bring massive changes to multiple franchises. Coaches will be fired, general managers will be replaced, players will be traded, draft positions will be determined, and through it all, the conversation will continue about what Mike Tomlin really meant when he told Shedeur Sanders to stay up. Was it advice? Was it recruiting? Was it regret? Was it respect? Maybe it was all of those things. Maybe it was something only the two of them will ever truly understand. What we do know is this: Shedeur Sanders is 1 win and 0 losses against Mike Tomlin. That's a fact that no amount of analysis or debate can change. And in a league where quarterbacks are judged by wins and losses, where the only thing that matters is whether you can lead your team to victory when it counts, that's a pretty good start to what could be a very long and very successful career. The stage is set. The drama is real. The stakes couldn't be higher. And whether you're a Steelers fan dealing with disappointment, a Browns fan clinging to hope, or just a football fan who loves great storylines, you have to admit, this is what makes the NFL so captivating. These are the moments we'll be talking about for years to come. This is the content that reminds us why we love this game. Stay tuned, because the best is yet to come.